Hey guys, Dr. Childs here. Today we're going to be talking about zinc-rich foods that you should be eating every single day or at least every single week to try and reach your zinc goals so that you can support your thyroid gland, or at least make sure that zinc is not the thing that's bringing your thyroid function down. In addition to that, I'll be talking about why zinc is so important. And actually, let's just start right now, and then I'll be talking about the foods in just a minute here. So I'll give you 4 big reasons why you should care about zinc if you're a thyroid patient. If you're listening to this thinking, what's zinc do? I'll tell you right now because it's very important. Number 1, zinc helps with something called T4 to T3 conversion. In fact, it's one of the primary nutrients involved in this process. So if your zinc level is low, that will reduce the amount of T3 that your body creates, which is very important because that's the most powerful thyroid hormone. Number 2, zinc is required for the production of TRH, not TSH. So TRH comes from the hypothalamus, and it's the hypothalamus that then talks to the pituitary, which then talks to the thyroid gland. So it's still integrated into that system, but it's one step above what you're probably familiar with, which is TSH. Number 3, zinc is required for T3 binding on the nuclear receptor. That's what this NR stands for. So that means if your body, assuming your body creates enough T3, zinc is required for that T3 to then activate your cells and change your biochemistry. Again, very important. And number 4, it is required for immune function. Okay, so to balance the immune system. When your zinc levels are low, you're more likely to get sick and you're more likely to develop problems with your immune system, such as autoimmune disease, right? And this is also why a lot of immune boosting supplements contain zinc, right? For that very reason, it can help your immune system. Okay, with that out of the way, let's talk about how to get zinc. We'll talk about how much you need. Now, as a backdrop to this, just let me know, I want to let you know that the primary way that you should be getting zinc inside of your body is through your food, through whole food sources, not just through processed food sources, because you can get zinc which has been fortified or added to certain foods. But you should be aiming to get your zinc from whole foods. Now, I say that as somebody who sells thyroid support supplements, and I have a lot of supplements that contain zinc. But I'm telling you, even though that's the case, get as much zinc as you possibly can through your food, because that's the best way, all right? Now, if you need a little bit extra, sure, you can add on those supplements later. But start first with the diet, right? I want to harp on that because it's so important. Now, let's talk about how much zinc you should be aiming for every day. That number is actually pretty easy. It is 5 to 20 milligrams, right? So that's the total amount that you should be aiming for each and every day. Now, I'll be talking about the amount of or the content of zinc in each of these foods per serving. We'll talk about that in just a second. And then I'll also tell you how much of each of these foods, how many servings you would need to reach that minimum goal. Now, if you will, really quick before we do that, you will notice that 5 to 20 is quite a little bit of range, right? That's it's about 4 times the difference. So it is actually important to understand that there is a range of the amount of zinc that you may need. But I would recommend at least aiming for 5 milligrams from food sources every day. Now, if you need more than that, that's when you can use those supplements to get you up to those higher levels, like 20 milligrams. You don't have to go there, but you might find that you benefit from going a little bit higher. But for purposes of these foods, I have highlighted these numbers right here, like this 1, means that this number 1 tells you how many servings of that particular food you need to reach that 5 milligram minimum threshold. So let's talk right now about these food sources. Number 1 is oysters. This is far and away the single best source of zinc that you can get from a whole food. Now, oysters contain a whopping 32 milligrams of zinc in every serving, which means you only need 1 serving per day of oysters to reach that threshold. And that actually gets you above the higher end of what you would need. Now, if you don't like oysters, don't worry, we've got some other options, but you have to kind of consume a lot more of these other foods. Number 2 would be beef, which clocks in at 3.8 milligrams of zinc per serving, which means you would need 2 servings per day to reach that minimum threshold. Blue crab comes in at number 3, which contains 3.2 milligrams of zinc, which means you would need 2 servings each day of blue crab to reach that threshold. Cereals, which I do not recommend, but they do contain zinc in a fortified form, contain 2.8 milligrams of zinc, which means that you would have to have 3 servings of cereal every day to reach that. Again, please don't eat cereal. Don't get your zinc from cereal. I'm just letting you know that it's there. Whatever number we're on now, I think this is number 5. Pumpkin seeds, which are really good, I'm going to put a star next to this one and next to this one because these are quite good. Pumpkin seeds contain 2.2 milligrams of zinc per serving, which means you would need 3 servings per day to reach that minimum. Pork contains 1.9 milligrams of zinc, which again means you need 3 servings per day of pork to reach that minimum. Turkey breast contains 1.5 milligrams, which means you need 4 servings per day. Cheese contains 1.5 milligrams, which means you need 4 servings per day. Shrimp contains 1.4 milligrams per serving, which means you need 4 servings per day. And lentils contains 1.3 milligrams per serving, which means, of course, you'd need 4 servings per day. Now, looking at this food list, you can probably already kind of get an idea of what foods you are likely to consume and which ones you are not. Now, I'll put the stars around the ones that I think are quite good for thyroid patients. Pumpkin seeds being one because they also contain selenium. Oysters, of course, because they have such a high content. And then I would say any beef would be good too. Pork would be fine. Turkey, depending on your preference and so on. So those are pretty solid sources of zinc if you're trying to get it from your diet. Now, what you will notice is that there is a place for supplementation if you don't like some of these foods, or if you find it hard to have, let's say, 2 servings of beef every single day, which can be kind of difficult for some patients, especially with palate preferences and taste buds and so on. So you might find that it makes a lot more sense to you personally to combine supplements with whole food sources in order to at least reach this 5 to 20 milligram range. Now, I don't really care how much, or I don't really care what foods you eat or where you get your zinc from, with the exception of cereals. Please don't have cereals. As long as you're getting within this range, that is what matters to you as a thyroid patient. So use any combination of these foods plus or minus supplements as needed in order to get there, because you will be able to support your thyroid by supporting these 4 super important functions that zinc is required for on thyroid function. And that's all I have for you guys today. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. And if you haven't already, make sure that you download my free thyroid PDF resources. I have tons of information, all designed to help thyroid patients like you feel better. So that's all I have. And otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next one.